All right, well, as always, thanks for joining. Well, today we're going to be looking at my first couple weeks of the October hunting season here in Michigan. I've been able to get out a total of 5 times so far, and let's just talk about how my season has been going. So I've only been able to get out to a small piece of permission property that I have. It's a really small piece, and this year I've really seen more bucks than I've ever seen. I've been able to hunt this property for I think 3 years now, and I'm seeing more bucks this season already than I've seen in the last 2 seasons combined. So I'm really excited about that. Have a couple that I'd really love to be able to shoot. My very first hunt was on opening day, which was a Tuesday. So I ended up leaving work early, heading out to this property, changing clothes. I mean, I drove there in my work clothes, which is not the best for scent control because my shop really smells. But you got to do what you got to do. Got to get out in the woods when you can. So all day it was beautiful, and on the ride there it started pouring, and I just knew I was just going to get drenched because I was going to hunt opening day regardless. So I didn't take my main camera, just kind of filmed with my phone and my DJI Osmo Action 3 or 4, I don't know, whichever one I've got. And ended up, while I was in the stand, I was texting my brother-in-law because he was out and we were going back and forth. And as I was doing that, all of a sudden I saw a deer, and it was coming my way, and ended up being one of the big 8 points that I had my sight set on. Unfortunately, he stayed way too far out. He was probably about 75 yards away, and he just kept right on walking. But at least it was really cool to see that deer on opening day, just to know that I was in the right area, maybe not in the exact right spot, but in the right area at the right time. So it was cool because this year my goal was I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of quantity of hunts, but I wanted to have good quality of hunts. And definitely opening day ended up being a quality hunt. It's a successful hunt for me if I'm seeing deer, and I saw one of the biggest bucks I've seen on foot, so I was happy with that. So ended up seeing that. Then on October 6th, I got out again, ended up sitting in that same stand, and it was super, super windy, and I knew once I got out there that it was likely that I would not see a deer that night, but you've got to sit there, you know, once I'm already up, I had to sit there. What was cool is some turkeys started to come in, and I was excited because I got a fall turkey tag, and I would have definitely shot one of those turkeys had it come in close enough. And it was right near the end of the night, and those birds ended up roosting in a tree probably about 25 yards away from me. And that was really cool because I've never seen turkeys roost at least that close to me. I've seen them when they were already in the tree, but I actually watched them fly up into the tree, which was really cool. So that again was an eventful night, so that was a cool hunt. And then October 11th, I got out for my third sit, and we were camping up in Port Huron, Michigan. And what was cool was that night, while we got up there, is the northern lights were actually visible. And this was the first time. I've seen them a couple other times where if you took your phone and you held it for night vision, you could see it in the phone. But this you could actually see with your naked eye. The entire sky in one area was all a really light shade of a pink, and then another area was green, and it was just really cool. And of course, if you put your phone on night mode, just made for some awesome photos. So the whole group there, we all went down to the beach and just took tons of pictures. So that was really cool to see. And then the following morning, I ended up getting up and driving out to that property and sitting again. Saw about 7 or 8 does, ended up having 2 does that bedded within 15 yards of me, and just sat there for over an hour. And what was interesting is, and I've heard this before, but they kind of are like cows where they kind of regurgitate what's in their stomach and start to chew on it. And that's exactly what this one doe was doing. She just laid there and just kept chewing and chewing and chewing. So that was kind of cool to see. She got up and knew something wasn't right, but she just could not figure out where it was coming from. She never looked up, but just she knew something wasn't right, and she walked away. And then October 17th was a full moon, and I knew I wanted to get out for this full moon because I have seen bucks on camera several times in the area. I have one cell cam on that property, and I've definitely seen that 8-pointer hanging around, and I knew I wanted to get out. So ended up getting in the stand, and about 6 o'clock, there is a small little valley that's probably about 80 yards away from where I can hunt. And it's on the neighbor's property, and the deer love to funnel into that little valley, and it's kind of like a staging area for them. They kind of funnel into there, and they'll kind of walk around and graze and stuff just before they come out. And sometimes they come out the path that is in front of my stand, and sometimes they come out into the homeowner's very front yard. And as I started to load into that staging area, I knew, there was a chance, and all of a sudden I heard something running, and look over probably about 80 yards away was the big 8-point that I have seen before on opening day and have had on camera. And he was making a scrape probably about 80 yards from me, and I was super excited. I didn't even get a chance to turn the camera on. I grabbed my grunt call, thought I'd just throw a light grunt because I had already heard him grunting. So it seemed like he was chasing these does. So I threw a light grunt out, and he turned around and started heading towards me. And I tell you what, I got the shakes. I grabbed my bow, I was ready to go. Unfortunately, he ended up darting into that little staging area, and you could hear him chasing these does around. And what ended up happening was that lead doe came out into the homeowner's front yard, and 3 bucks ended up following her. One was a real small basket rack guy, might be a 7, maybe 8-point, but real small and tight. The other is this really cool buck that I guarantee I would shoot if I had the chance. It's very hard. I ended up finding out some trail camera footage of him, and he has a palmation on his right-hand side that has like 3 or 4 points, and it is just super thick. Really small rack, but just has this really cool palmation. I definitely would shoot him if I had the chance. And then right behind him, the big 8-point, walked within 5 yards of my trail camera, stopped, peed on himself. So it was really cool. Unfortunately, I never got a shot at any of those bucks. Threw out a couple grunt calls in hopes to bring them back my way, but just never happened. So that ended my hunt for that night. Two nights later, I had the opportunity to get out on October 19th, and I thought, you know what? It is time to just make a move. The wind was coming out of the south. Neither of my stands is a good stand to sit when you've got a south wind. So what I ended up doing is I decided I was going to hunt on the ground about 20 yards from that path where bucks and does like to come out of that staging area. So I ended up kind of carving a little hole in this picker bush and sat myself there in hopes that they would be coming out. And almost like clockwork, about 6 o'clock, I started hearing some deer in that staging area. Unfortunately, the neighbor thought it would be a good idea that night was the night that he was going to be planing some wood and fixing his tractor with a sledgehammer.
Well, the neighbor decided now's the time to start planing wood. It's 5:45.
And unfortunately, it's his property. He can do whatever he wants. And, he didn't know I was hunting anyway, but just started, going to town on fixing everything. So that kept those deer in that staging area. They were not going to come out. So I ended up seeing 0 deer that night. And then, of course, about 8:15 or 8:30, something like that night, that buck ended up finally coming out of that staging area. So I think had that homeowner not been working on his tractor, I might have had a chance at him coming out of the staging area and have a shot at him. But unfortunately, that is all the hunting I'm going to get in for October. I am going to be leaving on a cruise in a couple of days to celebrate me and my wife's 25th anniversary, so we're super excited about that. And then once I get back, I might have a few chances to get out before we end up having to head up to deer camp, and we're going to spend the whole week before gun opener bow hunting. Have not even seen what I have on trail camera up in the area where we're going to be hunting on some state land. So really excited for when we do get up there to see what that holds, and follow along for the rest of the season, because it's definitely going to be fun. Even if we don't get a deer down, definitely we have a lot of fun getting out there. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this. As always, thanks for sticking around. We'll see you guys next time.